if I'm in Filch's office and I go, a letter. I'm just
Yeah.
that's as far as that thought's gonna
I'm
go.
gonna read that. You don't mess with the man with freshly polished chains hanging from the ceiling.
Welcome back, witches, wizards, and muggles to Squibscorner. I'm Jeremiah.
And I'm Andrew, and on this episode, we're going over Book 2, Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, Chapter 8, The Deathday Party.
Oh, this is going to be such a good chapter.
A lot to unwrap in this one. There's some cool things in this chapter.
Yeah, let's go ahead and jump into that 7-word summary. Okay, so my 7-word summary, I think I worked it out. Death, dungeons, blood riding, petrification, it's Hogwarts.
It's Hogwarts. The safest place you can be, Harry.
Yeah, the safest place.
Mine is Harry Potter, wrong place, wrong time, always.
I was going to say, yeah, that happens a lot. So,
I
mean,
in
you
this
can use
book,
that for almost every chapter.
in this book, every chapter, it's like, we need to get out of here. Harry Potter's over there. Oh my gosh.
So pay attention to Andrew's 7-word summary because you might recognize it in the next couple chapters.
Bum, bum, bum. You know what I've noticed about book 2 that I like? All of the chapters seem to be consistently lengthy. Unlike the first book, I feel like we had some shorter chapters and then some really long chapters. I feel like all of these are very similar in length.
I think a little bit more thought was put into it.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. While organizing the book, I could see that.
So let's go ahead and jump into our 7-chapter notables now. The first one, these are going to be very vague. So Filch's letter, and then there's a couple of things within the letter. That's pretty good. The second one, Squibb. The third one, Vanishing Cabinet. Number 4, Moaning Myrtle. Number 5, The Water on the Floor. Number 6, Petrification. Number 7, Blood Letter on the Wall. That's
all important. All very important.
Yes, it is. Andrew, go ahead and recap our last chapter, Chapter 7, Mudbloods and Murmurs.
Mudbloods and Murmurs. Well, we learn what a mudblood is.
Very important, really.
And it's a very unkind word that wizards who think that they have pure blood or the pure blood families use for basically muggle-born witches. I don't even think they use it for half wizard, half muggle. I think they specifically use it for muggle-born witches and wizards because they feel that they should not be allowed. And you see this play out on a grand scheme within the series of Harry Potter. So she does a really good job of that. Again, one of her ways of drawing parallels to European history, world history.
Nah, she does a really good job at it.
Really well done. Ron has a bad experience with his broken wand.
Yeah, we find out you can't do magic with a broken wand. Well, you can, but there's consequences.
You can do magic, but there's consequences. So it backfired, and he's belching slugs. We get to go see Hagrid. We learned that even Hagrid. So first we knew that Professor Sprout was a little annoyed with Lockhart. Now we know that Hagrid's a little annoyed with Lockhart.
Gotta love him, though.
Gotta love. Do we have to love Lockhart? To be determined from some of us.
Yeah, TBT.
TBD. Yeah. So yeah. And was a chapter before that, right? Harry heard voices whilst doing detention. And that's going to come into play again in this chapter.
Actually, I think that was this chapter, wasn't it? Or was that at the end of this chapter he has detention? No, it was last chapter.
Was it last chapter where he was doing his detentions?
They were doing detention, and I couldn't figure out what the detention was for. So what are they in detention for?
It was in detention for stealing a car and flying it to Hogwarts. That's why he had detention. Because Ron had to polish silver in the trophy room, not using magic. and Harry had to help Lockhart address fan mail for hours.
Yep, and then Lockhart blames it on because they're tired that
They're just tired.
hearing
They're just
voices.
tired.
So
They're just tired. Yeah.
yeah, it's great. It's great. Good old Lockhart.
It's good. Lockhart.
Good. So now we'll start on the first paragraph of chapter 8, which again is the Deathday party, which this is an exciting chapter. Okay, we'll go ahead and get into it. So,
And if you've only watched the movies,
you'll never know.
This is completely new to you.
Yeah. October arrived, spreading a damp chill over the grounds and into the castle. Madame Pomfrey, the nurse, was keeping busy by a sudden spat of colds among her staff and students. Her pepper-up potion, worked instantly, though it left the drinker smoking at the ears for several hours afterward. Ginny Weasley, who had been looking pale, was bullied into taking some by Percy. The steam pouring from under her vivid hair gave the impression that her whole head was on fire.
Yeah, so another little last chapter, we heard that Ginny was exploring around Hagrid's hut.
Yeah.
And now at the beginning of this chapter, we hear that Ginny is looking pale. So we're going to see a little sprinkling of Ginny Weasley in these chapters.
Man, Ginny Weasley gets a lot more attention in the books. A lot more character development in the books.
Oh, yeah.
So I just mentioned pepper up potion. The ingredients, of course, we have to go into that. 1 piece of bicorn hair, 3 sprigs of English thyme, 4 fire seeds, 1 mandrake root, 5 drops of salamander blood, and 2 cups of standard potioning water. This sounds just awful to drink. It's not one of the worst tasting potions, as we're going to discover later.
Sure.
But it sounds, 4 fire seeds, a mandrake root, salamander blood? No thanks. I'm out.
And you'd think that pepper would be one of the ingredients.
Right? It would give it a little twist. It might make it worth drinking, and it might make it tolerable.
Pepper up potion.
Yeah. So this potion was developed in the 12th century by Potioneer,
I like it.
Linfrid of Stethcombe, and later perfected in the 19th century by Glover Hipworth. I might be butchering these names. The potion
I don't think they're real people.
Well, yeah. Well, hey, they're real to us, okay?
They're real. Yeah, I apologize.
This potion was used X amount of times in the books, 1992 to 1993 in this situation. February 24th of 1995 during the second task of the Triwizard Tournament, and June 24th, 1995 after the third task of the Triwizard Tournament. So a little bit of teasers there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, normally when there's bad weather outside and you have to practice for sporting events, practice is usually canceled. But it's Hogwarts. And,
Bad news is good news.
And when your Quidditch captain is Oliver Wood, he obviously thinks the opposite of that. So rain, shine, storm, mud, hurricanes, practice is happening. And remember the Nimbus 2001s that Draco's father bought the Slytherins?
My father will hear about this.
My father will hear about this. So the Weasleys performed a little bit of espionage, and they went and watched the Slytherins practice, and all they could come back to report was that it just looked like 7 green blurs flying around. They couldn't really see what was going on.
I like the way that's described, too. We couldn't see what was happening because it was nothing but blurs. It really puts oh, man, they're really screwed.
They're fast.
Yeah,
they're fast.
Yeah, inside the castle, we meet a new character, Nearly Headless Nick, or what's his full name? Sir Nicholas de Mimsy Poppington or something like that?
That's right, Sir Nicholas de Mimsy Poppington.
Yeah. There's a lot of characters with long names in here, unusually long names.
They're so proper.
Yeah. He was in the castle complaining about how he couldn't join a group called the Headless Hunt.
I like that she. So you have your group of ghosts. Ghosts, we know that ghosts. Now she's like, okay, we're going to make this special group within the ghost community called the Headless Hunt. And one of my favorite stories growing up was the Headless Horseman. Ichabod Crane, Sleepy Hollow, loved that. So I'm a big fan of her adding the Headless Hunt. And the Headless Hunt is a group of ghosts that were beheaded. And obviously your boy, Nearly Headless Nick, was not fully beheaded. And can you tell me how many times he was hit by a blunt axe before he died?
45 times.
It is 45 times. So it's kind of a big deal. And everyone loves, all the ghosts love the Headless Hunt. So Nick just got another
this is a
rejection
big
letter.
thing for Mr. Nicholas or Nicholas. He, I don't know how long he's been trying to get in, but he keeps getting rejected. And so here's the reason he's called Nearly Headless Nick. His neck, or his head for that matter, still hung on by the tiniest piece of skin. So I guess I'm right there with him, like just a tiny piece of skin. He's dead. He can't do anything about it now. And just like Andrea said, normally a beheading goes pretty smoothly.
Pretty smooth. Yeah, they prepare for it. Yeah.
Yeah. They
You would hope.
Yeah,
you would hope.
You would hope. And in this case, he 45 times to the neck with a blunt axe and still couldn't get the job done. I mean, they got one of their jobs done, but not the other part.
Yes.
Oh, poor guy.
Why was Nearly Headless Nick beheaded? I have never thought of asking that question. And here is our answer.
There we go.
Do you know why?
I've never thought of it either.
I've never thought to ask. Because you think, ghosts, they die, whatever, now they're ghosts. No, he was clearly beheaded. Why did somebody go after him 45 times with a blunt knife?
What do we got?
This is what Google is telling us. Nearly Headless Nick was executed because he used a spell to try and straighten a lady-in-waiting's crooked teeth, which instead caused her to grow a tusk. You could have given me 1,000 guesses.
Yeah.
You could have given me a
got them
lot
all
of
wrong.
guesses. None of them would have been like, oh.
Could you imagine living back in the day in the Muggle world or the magical world and just, hey, we're going to kill you because of this stupid reason? Like, this is really inconvenient, really no justification behind it other than we can do it.
Well, and it makes sense that he's clearly not a very good wizard. If he got that spell wrong, then him not being able to protect himself from muggles also makes sense. Like, bro, you're a wizard.
Yeah, he must have been in the Muggle world and tried to do that and then got caught pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Disapparate, though. Get out of there. Like, what are we doing here?
Right?
Come on, Nick.
Yeah.
Nick, you don't deserve to be. I'm just kidding, Nick.
Wow. You heard it here first.
I don't, Nick, I apologize.
Andrew does not believe you deserve to be in the Headless Hunt.
Well, neither does the Headless Hunt, so I'm not alone. I love the fan theory, the fan fiction that after the Battle of Hogwarts, he was completely decapitated. His head was completely decapitated because of all the dark magic was going on.
Wow.
Yeah, so Harry comes in from this terrible practice sloshing into the castle. He's talking to Nearly Headless Nick, and then all of a sudden, he looks down and there's Mrs. Norris. Now, if you remember Mrs. Norris is the cat that is basically the eyes and ears for Filch.
I heard a fantastic fan theory about Mrs. Norris.
There's a great fan theory about Mrs. Norris that didn't come out until the Fantastic Beast films.
Okay, so you're right on track. Yeah, I just seen someone on TikTok talking about it, and I want to get a hold of them, and I want to have them on here so that they can talk about it.
Well, it's been around for a while because...
Yeah, we'll get into it later.
I was about to say, because we've not met Nagini yet. There's a lot of stuff that might not make sense at this point. But anyway, so Mrs. Norris, she doesn't act like a normal cat, obviously. She has definitely keen senses, especially for students that may or may not be putting a toe out of line. So Mrs. Norris shows up out of nowhere. Nearly Headless Nick tells Harry, like, hey, you're going to want to get out of here. I know that Filch is mad. He's been having a bad day. And then all of a sudden, Filch is there. So Harry, wrong place, wrong time.
Yeah.
So now Filch, who doesn't do magic, looks down and he's just wildly upset. So they go to his office. And this is the first time we get to go into Filch's office. So this is pretty exciting. So
well, you okay? That's your version of something exciting, huh?
Well, we're introduced to another place.
Yeah,
right. We're introduced to another place.
Yeah, I wouldn't go far to say it's exciting, but
well, and it's cool because we do get a little description. So they walk in. There's chains and torture devices that are freshly polished.
It's
even though he's not allowed to use them, they are still in working order, and there's files all over the room for people that or students that have gotten in trouble with Filch. And
this is going to be the easiest question.
Fred and George Weasley.
Yep.
What's the question?
Who has the biggest file?
Yes, they had a drawer to themselves. So Harry is about to, Filch is about to give Harry detention. He's about to punish him.
Oh, yeah.
But before he can do that, there is a loud bang that comes from upstairs. And Filch believes, he starts yelling out, "Oh, that's it, Peeves. This time I've got you, Peeves. I'm coming." Yes. And he darts out the door. Filch hates Peeves. Let that be known. He's been trying for a long time for Dumbledore to kick him out. And Peeves is
so destructive and so annoying and so...
Yes.
Yeah. He's not the complete polar opposite of Filch, so you could see why he would want him out.
And Filch thought this was his moment.
Yeah. So Filch runs off, and Harry, being a kid who's the definition of minding your own business, just picks up one of Filch's letters and reads it.
So it wasn't your standard envelope, right? When you think of all of the envelopes in the Harry Potter universe, other than the Howler, they're like the typical parchment, grayish, brownish, old parchment with the seal. This one was not that. What was it? It was like purple and pink, with fancy writing, and it really caught Harry's eye.
I try to do, to the best of my ability, everything by the rules. Whether I agree with the rules or not, they're there.
Yeah.
So
you don't mess with the man with freshly polished chains hanging from the ceiling. That's just a general life advice, folks.
Yeah, if I'm in Filch's office and I go, a letter. I'm just that's as far as that thought's going to go.
I'm going to read that. That's clearly there for my viewing pleasure. No,
exactly what Harry says.
No, Harry. No wonder Snape hates you. Harry.
So this is chapter notable 1 and 2. We got to read the letter. I got to read the letter. So let's see if I can get a little cartoony with this.
I'm excited.
Feel out of step in a world of modern magic? Find yourself making excuses to perform simple spells? Ever been taunted for your woeful wand work? There's an answer. Quick Spell. It's an all-new, fail-safe, quick result, easy-learn course. Hundreds of witches and wizards have benefited from Quick Spell method. So, Filch is a squib.
And there's a special corner for them.
There is, right here, with all of you.
Squibscorner, baby.
So a squib is a witch or wizard that has no magical ability, or it can be argued that they have little to no magical ability.
And the key point is they were born into magical families, and they exhibit little to no magical abilities.
Which, okay, so a squib. Do you think a squib, like someone would become a squib? Because I kind of think of Neville Longbottom, the tremendous pressure he had on him to perform magic. Do you think that might be a reason why some people become squibs, because they just cannot deal with that pressure?
Sure.
Because it can be debilitating.
Yeah, pressure can, and we also learned that Dumbledore's younger sister, she had an incident that caused her to be unable to at times do magic, and at other times to control her magic.
Yeah.
So I would definitely say, I mean, you look at the Patronus, right? Look at the Patronus. You look at nonverbal spells. You have to focus. You have to mentally be able to be in the zone, right? Be there.
It's almost like they're second guessing themselves too much, and therefore they cannot do it.
Well, and you also had our boy Neville wasn't using his own wand for most of the series. So not most of the series.
That brings into question Lucius Malfoy, and that's a bridge we'll cross when we get there.
Yes. So, but no, to answer your question, yes, I think that there can be emotional, mental
I think
issues.
So. And I mean, I'm not saying they're just not born with it. Some aren't. They're just not born with the ability, and that it could go both ways, though, I feel.
Well, and I think another very obvious thing is, look, the magical community decided that magic is important enough and difficult enough that you have to go through a basic 7-year schooling program.
Yeah, that's crazy.
To be allowed. So we know that doing magic isn't easy. It's a 7-year program. Just
I
to
would
be
definitely
able
do it. I would go back to
on.
school to do that.
Yeah.
I hate school. I would go back in a heartbeat for that.
So knowing that it's difficult to do, you just have a lot of people, like you've met them in your everyday life. If things become too difficult, they're just not going to give it all the effort.
For those reasons, I am out.
You are the weakest link.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. So Filch was extremely out of character when he gets back. Obviously,
yeah, that's an understatement.
Obviously, he did not catch Peeves in the act. But he comes, and as the book says, Harry, right before Filch comes back in, notices that he placed the envelope back down on the desk some 2 feet away from where it was.
So, growing up, and I think even into my adulthood, I don't do these things on purpose, but if I'm going to pick up that letter, I'm going to memorize exactly where it is, the position, the angle, everything about it. When I put it back, it's going to be exactly how it was.
100%.
Harry, as much as a troublemaker and getting into stuff as he does not take that into consideration. I don't get that about Harry. Just put it back how it was, bro. Come on. Sneaky. You ever heard of it?
Harry's got some growing to do. He's got some learning to do. He's got some learning.
Well, he's already 12. I mean, he hasn't figured that part out yet. I mean, I used to go swimming when my mom worked. We lived on a property that you could walk down to the river. She would tell me, "Don't go swimming while I'm at work because you could drown. You can get caught in the current." Okay, cool. When she left and I woke up, I went down to the river and went swimming.
How old were you?
Oh God!
Please be older than 13.
I was not in high school.
Oh, my goodness.
So, but here's what I did. She didn't know this until I was an adult. A couple years ago, I told her. She had no idea, right? You know parents can play dumb, like, oh, I didn't know you did that, and they did. No, I went swimming. I would come back up. I would throw my clothes in the dryer, and I'd fold them back up, and I'd put them away, You never knew anything. See, you got to use your brain every once in a while, you know.
Come on, Harry.
Yeah, it's...
So Harry places the letter back down on the table. Filch may or may not have recognized that the letter is now not where it's supposed to be, but either way, the letter was in the open, and he knew that Harry had to have seen the letter.
Which brings up the other question, like, why did he leave it there in the first place? Like, if he's so upset about, did you read my letter? Why wouldn't he if it's that important, you think he would have put it away before he left?
Hide it. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. That's on you, Filch. That's on you.
It is.
That's on you, Filch. Put your stuff away. You can't bring somebody into your office and then be completely upset. We're like, wow, they saw this purple, pink envelope here.
That I left out open.
I was curious. Yeah. So he was pretty nervous and suspicious that Harry could have read that letter. And all of a sudden he tells Harry to leave. He's like, that letter's not mine. It's for a friend. And don't tell anybody about it if you read it, which you better not have read it.
I'm actually looking in the book because I think that we need to quote that.
Let's do it.
Okay, so we found it. We're going to read it.
Okay, so Filch walks in, and then Filch's pasty face went brick red. Harry braced himself for a tidal wave of fury. Filch hobbled across to his desk, snatched up the envelope, and threw it into a drawer. Did you read? He sputtered. No, Harry lied quickly. Filch's knobbly hands were twisting together. If I thought you'd read my private, not that it's mine, for a friend, be that as it may, however. Harry was staring at him, alarmed. Filch had never looked madder. His eyes were popping. A tick was going in one of his pouchy cheeks, and the tartan scarf didn't help. Very well, go, and don't breathe a word. Not that. However, if you didn't read, go now. I have to write up Peeves' report. Go! Amazed at his luck, Harry sped out of the office, up the corridor, and back upstairs. To escape from Filch's office without punishment was probably some kind of school record.
Yeah, no, I love it because he's usually so put together in like his terrible way, and just to hear him stammering like that, I love it.
Hear him stammer, yes. So he forgot about it, but he mentions before he tells Harry to go that vanishing cabinet was very valuable, which is
our notable number 3.
Chapter notable number 3. Not only is this our first mention of a vanishing cabinet, that particular vanishing cabinet plays a huge part in this series.
Well, it's technically our second mention. In the first book, Harry went to Diagon Alley and hid in what?
That was a different vanishing cabinet.
It was a different vanishing cabinet.
But it was a vanishing cabinet.
Nonetheless, yes.
Yes, it was. Now, in the first book, does it say a vanishing cabinet?
No.
Or we just know that he's...
That's what it is.
Yeah. So
we're not going to tell you what it's for, what it's doing there.
No.
Years.
No.
You have to wait years for those answers.
You have to wait years, yes.
Or you can just pick up the books and read them. Whatever.
Yes. So it doesn't say in the book if Nearly Headless Nick had Peeves drop it or if Nearly Headless Nick drops it.
No, Nearly Headless Nick convinced Peeves to drop it.
You're sure?
I'm positive on that.
Oh my goodness!
Because he comes back and he says, "Did it work?"
Oh yeah, there we go. I persuaded Peeves to crash it right over Filch's office.
Yeah,
you're a gentleman and a scholar. Okay,
it's great.
So going back, Nearly Headless Nick had convinced Peeves to drop the vanishing cabinet over Filch's office. You're like, Nick, appreciate you, buddy. Love that. And I'm sure Peeves...
that was kind of out of nowhere, too. Like,
yeah.
But then when you think back, like he gave him the heads up, like, hey, you better go. Oh, wasn't fast enough. Let me see if I can fix this. He's a nice guy. Nearly Headless Nick. He's a nice guy.
Well, and you also wonder, did he do it to be like, oh, hey, Harry, I just saved you. I just did a favor for you. You mind doing a favor for old Nearly Headless Nick over here?
I think he wouldn't have... there's circumstances to lead up to him asking that, and I think if Harry wouldn't have said a certain thing, he probably wouldn't have asked.
Sure.
I don't think he did it for that, but maybe he was hoping Harry would say something along those lines so that he could invite him. So, yeah, we'll get to that right now. So, yeah, this is why I say if Harry hadn't said a certain thing, I don't think Nearly Headless Nick would have brought it up. So, I think you found the quote, so I'll let you go ahead and read it.
Okay, so they get done, and Harry notices that as they're leaving Filch's area, Nearly Headless Nick is still holding on to the rejection letter. So Harry says, I wish there was something I could do for you about the headless hunt.
Yes.
And Nearly Headless Nick is like, well,
yes.
Now that you mention it.
And that's what brought up Harry being invited to the Deathday party. Had that little conversation right there not happened, I don't think he would have done it. I don't think he would have invited it. So
possible.
Like I say, he's a good guy. If that's the case, he's a good guy. He did that out of the goodness of his heart and didn't expect anything in return.
Mm-hmm.
So Harry was told he could invite Ron and Hermione, of course, to his Deathday party. That day party. The Deathday party is pretty much like a birthday party, except you're celebrating your death instead of your birth. Nick also asked Harry if he could more or less put in a good word with Sir Patrick by telling him that he thinks Nearly Headless Nick is very scary.
Yeah, very, very scary, very frightening, this guy. Yes. And he mentions in there that this is his 500th death day.
Yeah.
Which does not align with his time of death in book 1, but that's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. I think we talked about that.
Yeah, there's holes. There's holes.
That's okay. But now we know.
Yeah.
That he was killed in 1492. 500 years prior to 1992. October 31st. Which is, I guess a great day for wizards to die.
Yeah, great. Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, well, and I will say this. It really doesn't have much to do with the chapter, but during the chapter, the Weasley twins, kind of while all this is going on, they're working on their filibuster. They're doing experiments with the filibuster fireworks. They get a salamander that they steal from a Care of Magical Creatures lesson. This is the first time we hear about that class, Care of Magical Creatures. And that almost starts like, okay, we know that they're into pranks and goofing off and stuff, but now they're dealing with fireworks. They're trying to figure out.
Yeah, there's a little bit here and there that just touch on their brilliance and what they're doing, and they're not just there to learn. So I always have to insert anything about them, really. There's a point to what they do. Yeah.
Yeah. And just to clarify, the difference between fireworks and filibuster fireworks. Filibuster fireworks, you can start them when they're completely wet. Some of them have no heat. Some of them divide. They grow. Like there's different spells and stuff that are contained within these filibuster fireworks. But if you could imagine magical fireworks, that's what Fred and George are working with.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, and if you've ever heard the Muggle term of a filibuster, you think of politics, and that's
great
a great
differentiation
place.
right
Great
there.
place where somebody would love to set off fireworks.
Oh, right.
somebody doing a filibuster.
Wake up, everybody!
Oh no, jeez.
So the Deathday party was down in the freezing cold dungeons. There was a ghost orchestra. There's a lot going on at this Deathday party. It's not just a bunch of ghosts getting together. So there's a lot going on at this Deathday party. It's not just a bunch of ghosts getting together to party. There was a ghost orchestra. The Headless Hunt showed up at some point. There was the Bloody Baron, the Fat Friar, Warren, the Grey Lady, Peeves, a Wailing Widow, Harry, Ron, Hermione, the humans. Portly ghost, Patrick Delaney Podmore. Ghost horses, a knight with an arrow sticking out of his forehead. Ghost of ragged men wearing chains, and a group of gloomy nuns. And chapter notable number 4, Moaning Myrtle, who, for now, we can say is a very moody and sensitive dead girl that lives in the U-bend in the bathroom.
In a specific girl's bathroom.
One that almost everybody just tries to avoid altogether.
Yes.
So she's pretty much got that bathroom all to herself.
Yeah, people really don't go to it. Especially when she gets cranky, she can make messes, and the whole bathroom is just out of order. But
yeah.
Kind of back to the Deathday party, it talks about there's rancid, moldy, rotten food. And it's funny because they see a ghost, like with its mouth open, go through some of the food. And they're like, oh, can you taste that? Almost. So brilliant Hermione is like,
that would be the most depressing thing about being dead. Like, I cannot taste this food anymore.
Can't taste this food. Okay, so at some point, Harry tried to tell the Headless Hunt that he thought Sir Nicholas, Nearly Headless Nick, was pretty scary. And then Sir Patrick Delaney Podmore laughed and was like, oh, I bet he put you up to that. He wanted you to say that. I was like, oh, no. And then Nick tried to give his speech. But the Headless Hunt, they're a bunch of jerks.
Yeah, they are. Yeah,
They're
like the jocks in high school that think all that. Yeah,
they came to Nearly Headless Nick's birthday or death day party and then disrespected him.
Just took over the whole party.
He was about to give a birthday speech, a death day speech. Death day. It's not his birthday. A death day speech, and then they start playing. What do they call it? Head hockey.
Something like that.
Yeah, they're on their horses and the head, and they're trying to hit the head. It's almost like a version of ghost polo, basically. But yeah, they're just kind of a jerk. And then, what's Nick going to do? He's not going to override the Headless Hunt, especially when the crowd's cheering him on. So he just kind of gave up. And then the Golden Trio was like, well, we came. We promised we'd come. Now maybe the feast is still happening. The real feast, the human feast.
Yeah, this chapter really makes you feel for Nearly Headless Nick. And it's kind of a short chapter, too, and you get like she's very good at describing characters. You get a very good description of Nearly Headless Nick, and it's that's her strong suit. Like just nailing down a character to where you're like, oh yeah, I get it. I know who they are. Oh, it's great. So remember in the last chapter how it ended with Harry hearing voices. Man, you don't watch wrestling, so I can't bring up Randy Orton's theme song.
Sorry, bud. Sorry, buddy. You don't watch movies, so I can't talk about movies.
Well, to be honest, I don't really watch wrestling. I just I see enough clips to know what's going on. I used to watch wrestling a lot, but now I just see enough clips to know what, I keep up with it. But
okay.
Anyways, as they were leaving the Death Day party, the voices started happening again. Rip, tear, kill. So hungry for so long. Kill. Time to kill. The voice was moving this time. So Harry, naturally, like any sane 12-year-old would do, he ran after it. I smell blood. I smell blood. Harry shouted that it's going to kill someone. Then he ran off, and Ron and Hermione couldn't hear anything at all.
Which begs the question. The hiss has to be loud.
Yeah.
I mean, not to give anything away, but this is a not a small thing making the hiss.
No, not at all.
So if Harry can hear what it's saying, that means that everyone, like if somebody's speaking Spanish, you're like, oh, I don't understand what they're saying. Yeah, but you hear them.
You still hear them. Yeah.
You still hear them. Just because you don't speak Spanish doesn't mean you don't hear them speaking.
Yeah, and that's not a thing that's ever brought up. Like how do these kids? How does nobody hear any of that? I guess if you hear it, you wouldn't just think, oh, it's a snake. You would just go, oh, well, like, when paranormal stuff happens, you
Sure,
just,
sure,
oh, it
sure,
was the
sure.
wind, or,
Yeah.
you just kind of
Well,
brush it off.
in Lockhart's office, you had the sputtering of the candles.
Yeah.
So, I could see how you this, but this point, it's like they
Well, it's
had to
just,
appear, yeah.
could you imagine walking down a corridor with your friends, and all of a sudden, one of your friends is like, it's going to kill someone, and he
It's
runs
gonna
off to
kill
chase
someone.
it, like, what? Where are you going?
Harry.
Are you going to Dumbledore? Is that what you're doing?
Yes, yes. And in the wizarding world, like, okay, as weird for us as the reader reading a Deathday party, that's weird. But in the wizarding world, for people to hear voices, that's also pretty weird. That's also pretty weird. So they run up. Harry is following the sound. He's following this voice. He knows that it's going to kill. It's thirsty for blood. So they go up the stairs and they find water all over the floor. And then Hermione rightly assumes Moaning Myrtle has flooded the bathroom again. Chapter notable number 5, the water on the floor. This plays something that you really don't understand this chapter, but in the grand scheme of the story, the book, this comes into play. It makes a lot of sense.
Oh, yeah.
So then they walk down the hall. Harry's like, hey, what's that on the wall down there? So they're still sloshing in the water. They go down, and there's something written on the water, painted in blood. Chapter notable number 6. The Chamber of Secrets has been opened. Enemies of the air, H-E-I-R, enemies of the air, beware. And it doesn't stop there, because next to that message, Mrs. Norris was hanging by her tail, not moving, which is chapter notable number 7. At first, they thought that she was dead. And so Ron, like, he sees the writing on the wall, he sees the water, he sees a dead cat, and like any innocent 12-year-old is like, bro, we got to get out of here. We are not supposed to be here. Let's go. And obviously, wrong place, wrong time, always. They hear the throngs leaving the Great Hall, and so the feast is done. Perfect timing. So
From every angle.
yeah, because that's been going on while they were at the Deathday party. So now they're surrounded by people standing there, looking like they were standing at the scene of a crime, right? And with impeccable timing, your boy shows up, your arch rival, your nemesis.
The highlight of the book.
The guy that bought his way onto the Slytherin Quidditch team, Draco Malfoy. He repeated the words on the wall and said, "You're next, mudbloods."
Draco. I'll go ahead and say it. The movies were okay. They were within their right to take this out of the movie.
The Deathday party wasn't in the movie. This scene, I believe, this scene, the end scene was in the movies.
They were right to take the Deathday party sequence out, because it really, I mean, you got to know Sir Nicholas more, and
Sure.
get to know a lot of the ghosts more, but really, in the grand scheme of it all, that doesn't matter.
No.
I think it's just another way to introduce magic into the world. You get to see these ghosts are hanging out, the headless hunt, and the woefulness of Sir Nicholas. But the rest of the chapter absolutely needed it.
Yeah. Deathday party's cool.
Oh no, it's awesome. But
Not necessary.
needed.
Not necessary.
Yeah.
But we like the beginning of the chapter. Harry going to detention, Filch. We're getting a layer of Filch.
Yeah, there's a couple of
Deathday.
important things in here. Squib.
Yeah.
So join us next time when we review Chapter 9, The Writing on the Wall. And as always, thank you for listening to us. Make sure to like, share, Subscribe wherever you're listening. We're on YouTube. We're everywhere you can get your podcast. Andrew, sign us out.
Hearing voices no one else can hear isn't a good sign, even in the wizarding world.
Squibscorner is hosted by Jeremiah Lobaugh and co-hosted by Andrew Beecham, myself. We would love to hear from you, so drop us a rate and review. To inquire about being a guest, or if you have questions, comments, or just want to give us your Harry Potter story, email us at squibscorner@gmail.com. To watch Harry Potter merch unboxings, follow Jeremiah's YouTube, Accio Potter Guy. Lastly, you can leave us a voice memo and follow us on Instagram at Squibscorner Podcast.